I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Risco. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Zarko?
Present.
Mrs. Koski?
Present.
Mr. Lusk?
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Shannon?
Present.
Mrs. Zarowski?
Here.
Council, we need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the agenda.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. First item on our agenda is a report from our city manager. Sitting in for our city manager, Mark Vanderpool, is the assistant city manager, Jeff Bohorski. Mr. Bohorski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. The annual Sterling Fest Art and Music Fair successfully concluded on Saturday, July 29th. As a community event, Sterling Fest is unsurpassed in bringing the Sterling Heights community together to have fun in the heart of the city. While it is impossible to list everyone who contributed to the success of Sterling Fest, without omitting someone, I must single out Director Bridget Kozlowski and the entire community relations staff for the long-term planning and execution of another great Sterling Fest event. Special thanks also to our DPW, police, fire, facilities, and many employees and volunteers, including city council members, who contributed to the success of this event. National Night Out. Sterling Heights Police Department joins law enforcement agencies across the country in hosting the 33rd Annual National Night Out on Tuesday, August 8th from 6:30 to 9 p.m. at the Sterling Heights Police Department. National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes police community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderie to make neighborhoods safer and better places to live. In addition to demonstrations of public safety equipment and displays from the police and fire departments, this event will highlight volunteer opportunities with the Citizens Emergency Response Team, better known as CERT, Neighborhood Watch, and Citizens on Patrol, better known as COPS. Raffles, prizes, and refreshments will also be served. Everyone is encouraged to attend this family-friendly event. The impact of recreating recreation is spreading across Sterling Heights as neighborhood parks are being renovated with new amenities, including playscapes, pavilions, court surfaces, signage, and landscaping. On July 18th, the City Council held a groundbreaking for the new skate park, which is located between the Sterling Heights Public Library and the Kenneth Kosnick Judicial Building. The best news is that this is just the beginning. Tonight, City Development Director Denise Gerstenberg is going to provide an overview of the exciting recreating recreation amenities that are going to transform the city in the next 12 months and beyond. Mayor, if we could have Mrs. Gerstenberg make her presentation.
Mrs. Gerstenberg.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. So as you know, on November 8th, Sterling Heights voters approved a dedicated Parks and Recreation millage for recreating recreation, which is a place-making initiative that will deliver a diverse mix of recreational opportunities to city residents. And tonight, I'd like to give you a project update. So since our last update in April, we have closed on the purchase of the party store across the street from City Hall. The store is now closed, and we are preparing for asbestos testing and removal. And then after that, the police and fire will use the building for training, and it will be demolished, which is possibly this fall. The land will be used for the new community center. And as you know, the construction has started on the skate park, which is hard to miss, as Mr. Bohorski said. It is located between the library and court buildings right here on the city center campus. I have some pictures of the skate park under construction. The construction crew is from Evergreen Skate Parks. They arrived on July 14th from California and Montana, and they have been very busy moving dirt. We anticipate that the skate park will be completed in October, followed closely by the landscaping in November. Construction has also started on the first 6 of our neighborhood parks. The work is being completed by Warren Contractors and Development, a local company from nearby Shelby Township. At Ben Hadley Park, a brand-new playground has already been installed with new picnic tables and benches on their way. At Chappelle Park, the brand-new playground has also been installed. There's new picnic tables and benches on the way. As also, a new picnic pavilion is going to be installed, and a new sledding hill is currently under construction. Now, there will be additional projects in Delia Park, but right now at Delia, the tennis courts are getting redone with new fencing and sport court decking. This decking is made of interlocking sport tiles, which is a product that can be installed over existing concrete courts. This is a highly durable sport tile. It covers cracks and stains and provides excellent shock absorption and traction. It also lasts 2 to 3 times longer than the painted surfaces that we have right now and have been installed in our other parks. Hampton Park is also under construction. They have a brand-new playground installed. They will also be getting a resurfaced pedestrian path, new picnic pavilion, picnic tables, trash cans, benches, and a new parking lot. The existing tennis and basketball courts will be resurfaced with the same sport tiles that we're using at Delia Park, and they will also be striped for pickleball. The new Imus Park playground has also been installed, and the park will get a much-needed new parking lot and entrance road, a resurfaced pedestrian path, as well as a new picnic pavilion, picnic tables, trash cans, and benches. The same interlocking sport tiles will be installed over the existing basketball and inline hockey courts. And we're stuck, okay. And lastly, Washington Park. The playground has already been installed, and they will also be getting the sport tiles installed on the basketball courts and a resurfaced pedestrian path. And Dodge Park. So on the consent agenda today is for City Council approval is the total refurbishment of our flagship park across the street, Dodge Park. This reimagined public space was designed to promote social interaction and a real sense of community. Our active recreation will be focused on the north end of the park, where there will be a new pavilion with restrooms, a soccer field, 4 sand volleyball courts, and a basketball court. The existing Parks and Recreation building will be demolished, and in its place, there will be a new farmers market pavilion that houses also an ice rink in the wintertime. The existing amphitheater will be demolished, and a new one built that faces the farmers market pavilion. This will allow residents to enjoy the market and the music at the same time and will provide more space for seating. It will also face the music and noise away from the local neighborhoods. And one of the major focal points as you enter the park will be a splash pad, which is a fun way for adults and children to cool off when warm weather arises. These pictures are actual renderings of what we can expect here in Dodge Park. This water park will be accessible to people of all ages and all levels of ability. They are designed with safety in mind at 0 depth, so there is no risk of drowning and no added lifeguard costs. The splash pad is also one of the amenities the city residents seem most excited about. So with the approval of the consent agenda today, the construction is expected to begin on August 14th, and it is expected to be done before our 50th anniversary celebration, which is on July 1st of next year. So, thank you very much, and that is the update of the Recreating Recreation Program.
Thank you, Mrs. Gerstenberg. We're getting a lot of positive feedback from residents about the changes in the neighborhood parks, and I think that will continue as we proceed. Lastly, at the conclusion of tonight's meeting, I'm requesting that the City Council convene in closed session to consider an attorney-client privileged communication. Mayor, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bohorsky. The next item on our agenda tonight is a presentation. This is a swearing-in ceremony for new Sterling Heights police officers. So I'll call up our interim police chief, Dale Dwojciechowski, to say a few words about our new officers and conduct a swearing-in. Interim Chief Dwojciechowski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, members of council, Mr. Bohorsky. Tonight it marks another great occasion here in Sterling Heights. We bring on board 4 new officers. This marks our 43rd police officer hired in just over 2 years. So the police department is growing. We're replacing bodies, and we thank you all for allowing us to do this in an efficient manner to keep our manpower up. This will be the end of our hiring on our current hiring list, so we'll be done for the end of 2017. When 2018 hits in January, we'll have a new eligibility list, and we'll be hiring probably another 10 officers for 2018. So we're still not done. We still have plenty of officers to go. We have more promotions to go this fall. So really exciting time at the police department, and couldn't be any happier. These officers all started employment about 2 weeks ago on July 17th. And once again, I'm proud to say that Sterling Heights has, with reputation, pay, benefits, working conditions, bureaus, and things to do, we have stolen all 4 of these officers from other police departments, which speaks volumes about the city, and it speaks volumes about our reputation, that they're willing to quit their job, come here to Sterling Heights and be with us. So tonight I want to introduce Kevin Archer, very front there. He comes to us from Grand Traverse County with 2.5 years of experience. Stephen McSherry, who just got hired by Madison Heights, and that takes a lot. Madison Heights just hired him 4 months ago, so to just start there, get your uniforms and say I do, and then to leave that employer to come here, that takes some courage, and a lot of people don't do it, so thank you, and Stephen's going to be a great addition. I know that was a very difficult decision, especially if you just started, but I think it's the right one. Nathan Gianni, 2 years with Detroit. A lot of Detroit officers now, probably a third of our department now is all from the city of Detroit, ranging anywhere from 18 years of experience down to 6 months of experience. So a lot of highly qualified people from Detroit. So thank you, Nathan, for making the jump. And Andrew Geldmacher, 3.5 years with Wayne County Sheriff's Department. So a lot of experience, and we couldn't be happier. These guys are already hearing outstanding things during from their training officers in the FTO program. So with that, I'm going to have you guys raise your right hand. I'll swear you in. I state your name.
I, Stephen McSherry,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that of the state of Michigan,
and that of the state of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
in and for the city of Sterling Heights,
in and for the city of Sterling Heights,
and that I will strive to maintain the highest standards of that department
and I will strive to maintain the highest standards of that department
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Congratulations, guys.
Just thank you for the opportunity. It's a blessing to be here and to make the move to come back to a place that's taking care of their employees.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor Taylor and City Council, for the opportunity to work for the city that I was raised in. Sorry. I appreciate the opportunity. There isn't another department like the city of Sterling Heights, and I'm looking forward to working with such a great community.
First, I'd like to thank God for this opportunity. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. I'd like to thank my family for supporting me, and I'm just honored to be here in the city that I also grew up in. And I'm hoping for the best and that it'll be a great career. Thank you.
I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to be here. And as a lifelong resident of Sterling Heights, I couldn't be more excited to serve the community.
All right, Chief, if you don't mind, I'd like to invite the city council, if they could line up right in front of the seats there. We'll come down, shake their hand, and welcome them and congratulate them. Council.
Congratulations and welcome back home.
Not going anywhere. Thank you so much.
All right, well, before you guys leave, I do want to thank you for your commitment to the city of Sterling Heights. We've gone through a number of these, hard to even remember how many at this point. It's a blessing to be where we are right now, considering where we were just a few years ago, talking about layoffs and cutbacks. And Sterling Heights has maintained a reputation as the safest big city in the state of Michigan and one of the safest big cities in the entire country, in no small part because of the work of the police department. So we are lucky to have one of the best around, and we've added a lot of new additions, and we expect a lot of you, and we know we can count on you because we only hire the best. So on behalf of the entire city council and the 133,000 residents, we thank you for your service to our community, and we put our trust in you and thank you for the job you do. At this time, if you guys want to go out and into the back and have your family go out with you and take some pictures, that'd be an appropriate thing to do. So God bless, congratulations, and let's give them one more big round of applause. Thank you, Chief. With that, we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is a public hearing to consider the application by Mancini Enterprises LLC for a speculative building designation at 42605 Van Dyke. Presentation from our Assistant City Manager, Jeffrey Bohorsky. Mr. Bohorsky.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Following the public hearing tonight, the City Council will consider the application by Mancini Enterprises LLC, a Michigan limited liability company, for a speculative building designation for a new 73,000 square foot manufacturing facility being constructed at 42605 Van Dyke. The managers of Mancini Enterprises are well known to this community as they own a number of facilities in Sterling Heights. The Mancini family has had a business presence in Sterling Heights for nearly 50 years. It is important to note that should the City Council designate the new manufacturing facility as a speculative building, such action does not convey a tax abatement. Under Public Act 198, an applicant for a tax abatement must apply within 6 months after construction commences. While this timeline works well when a developer has a tenant, it does not work for the developer who wants to construct his building and then market it without an end user. To avoid this result, Act 198 allows a developer to make application to a municipality for a speculative building designation, which, if approved, allows the first tenant within a 9-year period to apply for the tax abatement. Obviously, this designation provides a marketing tool for a developer hoping to attract a long-term tenant to Sterling Heights. The City Council last considered an application for a speculative building designation in 2008. To my right is Mr. Ed Mancini, who is present tonight to answer any questions. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bohorsky. At this time, I will open the public hearing and I'll start off with Mr. Mancini. Would you like to make a presentation or say anything?
I'd just like to thank the council for hearing us, and been here for, like you said, my shirt even says 50 years, and plan on another 50 with my kids, hopefully. Look forward to staying in Sterling Heights, and thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mancini. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing. And council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
resolve to adopt the resolution designating the new manufacturing building at 42605 Van Dyke as a speculative building in accordance with Public Act 198 of 1974.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mrs. Zarko?
I just, to the petitioner, through the chair to the petitioner, grateful that you decided that you're still staying in Sterling Heights. Glad you've been here for 50 years, and we're going to be celebrating our 50th anniversary next year, so maybe we'll find other companies that have been here equally as long, but certainly wish you the best of luck in marketing this building. And thank you again for choosing Sterling Heights.
Thank you, Ms. Zarko. Council, any further discussion? I would just echo that. Mancini's have been a fixture in the city of Sterling Heights and do a fantastic job with their various business entities and interests, and we're lucky to have you guys here too. So thank you, Ed. Appreciate everything that you and your family do for the city of Sterling Heights and wish you good luck. So with no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda tonight is an ordinance introduction to consider introduction of a map amendment to zoning ordinance number 278 to conditionally rezone property south of Metropolitan Parkway on the west side of Ryan Road in Section 30 from R60, one-family residential district, to C1, local convenience business district, Case number PZ 17-0004. We have a presentation from our city planner, Chris McLeod. Mr. McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and Mr. Pohorsky. As you noted, before you tonight is the potential introduction of an ordinance amendment which would amend our zoning map from R60 one-family residential to C1 local convenience business district. This is a conditional rezoning application brought forward by J&M Plaza LLC. The authorized representative is Mr. Carl Dallow, who is here tonight also to speak on behalf of the petition. The current application before you is for a 6,375 square foot local convenience shopping center with up to 4 individual tenant spaces shown on the plans as currently presented. I do want to note at the June 8th, 2017 regular Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission did recommend denial of this rezoning request after the public hearing was held. Since that time, the applicant has provided substantially revised plans, which you're reviewing tonight as part of your review of the application. And I just wanted to go over those changes that have been provided since that time. So there's an overall reduction in the square footage of the shopping center building, an offer to restrict the uses allowed on the subject property, which would eliminate restaurants, meat markets, and fruit markets, and then also the elimination of the one variance request that was made by the applicant, and that they would be willing to provide now the 10-foot wide green belt along the west and south property lines that abut the residential properties in that area. These revisions were made to specifically address those concerns that were raised, or a large number of the concerns that were raised by the residents at the Planning Commission meeting at the time. So therefore, based on the substantial changes of the plans and the fact that the Planning Commission has not reviewed these plans, our recommendation will ultimately be that this be sent back to the Planning Commission, but the City Council can make that determination as you move forward. So let me talk real briefly about the application a little bit more in depth. The application is for approximately 0.8 acres, again, at the generally the southwest corner of Ryan 15-mile road, or 16-mile road, I'm sorry. The site has gone through some recent considerations by our OBA, which is our Ordinance Board of Appeals. In terms of nuisance abatement, the OBA Board has determined that the house that currently sits on that property must be removed within the next 2 months, less than that now based on when the decision was made. That the property to the north is zone C1. If we could switch to the presentation real quick, I'll show the. So here's an aerial of the site. Existing gas station at the immediate corner, convenience center to the north of the site. This is the subject site here. The last remaining piece as you move then into the residential portions to the south there on the west side of Ryan. The zoning map itself showing commercial at the immediate intersection. Again, then office as you kind of move outward from each one of those corners. Again, this particular site is the last remaining residential piece, which would front the west side of Ryan. The master land use plan, as you can see here, which was recently adopted in February, also shows this particular property ultimately going to a non-residential use. In this case, local commercial is shown on the master plan itself. So again, the changes to the application, the reduction in building size from 6,650 to 6,375, the inclusion of the required green belt, and I'll show you that on the site plan in a second, and then the restrictions of the uses for no restaurants, no fruit markets, no meat markets. Those were brought up as specific concerns of the residents from the standpoint that they were concerned about the odor and the potential for foods and liquids being prevalent in the dumpsters and so forth, and that causing issue long term. So here's the site plan as it stands now, again showing those revisions. Originally, if you look along what is the left side of the site here adjacent to the parking lot and the top side of the site here, the site plan that the Planning Commission saw did not have these green belts in it. The parking was immediately adjacent to the property line. In this instance, the applicant has provided the required 10-foot green belt, again, trying to address those concerns of the residents. The building, therefore, got a little bit smaller in size, again, about 300 foot in terms of total square footage reduction. And then, again, the reduction of the types of uses being provided there. So this Otherwise, this site plan does meet the requirements of the city's zoning ordinance moving forward. Again, showing the tenant spaces here, potential tenant spaces, obviously that'll be dictated somewhat by market, but the applicant has indicated that there are specific users, a hairdresser, as well as a florist that would be going in here originally, and I believe also a wedding planner. They can speak to that more directly. The front elevation here on the bottom side of the plan, and then the side and rear elevation shown here. So again, I wanted to indicate that the Planning Commission's original recommendation was that this be denied, moving forward to City Council, but again, the plan has changed substantially, so we would recommend that the Planning Commission do have a chance to reconsider their recommendation moving forward. So with that, any questions that you have, I'll be more than glad to try to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McLeod. The petitioner is here in the audience. I think a couple representatives, maybe Mr. Dalla, would you like to come up here and make a presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, City Council. Thank you, Mr. McLeod. He explained everything that we're trying to do. It's a very light business plaza. Most of the users are not anywhere close to 12, 13 hours days, 8, 9 hours at the most. We have the hair salon that's moving from across the street on the east side of Ryan to this location. We have an event planner, which is typically they plan all of the events that you might have. They rent chairs, tables, accessories for any events that you might have, including like wedding and funerals and everything else. Photoshop and wedding dressing. Majority of these users are, you could consider them as an office user. The concern that we had with some of the neighbors that they saying it's a lot of duplicate businesses. These duplicate businesses, they all doing good, and they paying their bills and their rents, and majority of them have 3 to 5 employees. So if we calculate these duplicate businesses that we have in Sterling Heights, they add to a large number of employment, and we're proud of that. So we have duplicate attorneys, duplicate doctor offices. We have duplicate of everything, and we kind of proud to keep that. We're going to keep that plaza light, and as the planner indicated, also we're doing a deed restriction against the fruit market, meat market, restaurants in that plaza, and we have users for a very long term in there, and we're very excited to get going with it. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dallo. What we'll do is we'll take more comments from the audience if there are any, and if the council has any questions, we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
At that time, okay? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Well, I'll take you first, ma'am, to my left, and I'll get you next, ma'am. Come on up.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here, opportunity to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of my sister, which resides in 3941 Hearns, and her nephew, her son right next to her, which our houses are in the back of the property that the gentleman mentioned. With this issue going on with them when they got the house 2 years ago, there was another lady living in, old lady, she died and left. This property being unmaintained, whether from every aspect you looked at it, not leaves, not weeds, not anything you may in it, it's in there. They trying to build, she came to our house trying to convince us that she is gonna build 4 units. And she would not gonna have no restaurant, no nothing like that. And we answered her that, what's the sense of building another shopping center when there is the same shopping center next to you, across from you, quarter mile from us, half a mile. You take it from 14 mile to 18 mile. They are the same shopping center, same product they sell, same business they held. So by the gentleman mentioned, we're going to have employee working there. We're going to have the economy going. But he's not consider what about these poor people. They put their working time all their life to have a home that the value of the house is going to go down by this property, by this shopping center. If they were creating something different than what it is existing now, I could see the point. I could see if they are building units that they can rent it for, like UPS store, shoe store, cleaner, anything that operate from 9 to 5 to 4 to 6. But these business gonna stay open till 9, 10 o'clock. With the traffic, there would be issue of the traffic. Already there is no way when you try to turn out of these shopping center, they are there next door to the building. You have to wait 5, 7 minutes to try to turn because traffic coming and going. So by them having another shopping center, which include 4 units, and they all going from 9 to 9, it's going to be disaster traffic. That's one thing. Second, it'd be disaster to the neighbor that he's saying that we're going to have businesses, flower shop. Yeah, maybe the first year. Second year, they're going to turn it to a restaurant. Second year, turn it to the ice cream shop. Would they be young people sitting around, 4 or 5 chairs in the front, smoking, swearing, cussing, dropping ice cream on the ground? You think somebody's going to come and clean all that? Besides, we had enough of the garbage those people have, the shopping center, beyond the house that's going to be demolished. We had raccoon, cats, rats filling our backyard. Nobody take care of it. Leaves all over, branches all over our backyard. Nobody had the decency to come and say, we're going to take care of it. No, it's on us. So I don't think they're going to create something good for the city. No, they're creating disaster for the resident. Resident come first before the business. It's not like an area has no business at all, and they bring in these facility in it with the city or the residents going to benefit from it. No, we just going to benefit from it because our value of the homes are going down. We
All right, ma'am.
spent $50,000, $60,000 for the home to remodel, not to the value go down.
Okay, ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off. The red light has come on and your time is up. But
Okay.
Thank you for your comments, okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very
And
much.
we definitely want no restaurant, no ice cream shop on next to us.
I understand. Thank you. I'll take you, ma'am, if you'd like.
Thank you. Everybody gets nervous when they come up here. Let's see if I can make that go away. So my property is on the south line, on the corner of Hearns and Ryan Road of this property. I have a second-floor bedroom in my quad that my bedroom window will face those cars that will be parking lights first facing my property line. I doubt very much, after hearing things tonight, that there's much a resident can do to have this not happen. This is obviously going to be happening. But I would like very much to see not just that 10 feet of landscaping, but I'd like to know what kind of a wall. You can't build a wall high enough to protect my bedroom from the lights that will come. So I would also like to know if we can in some way limit this business to a daylight hours kind of a situation. Doctor's office, whoever, whatever rental he wants to put in there, that's his business. But a daylight so that I can go to bed at night without cars pulling in and out. That parking right there on my property line is really upsetting to me. And anything that you can do to mitigate that situation would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, take you next, sir.
My name is Ragid Michael. I live in 3941 Hearns Drive, and I also own 3929 Hearns Drive, which is right next to it. First of all, I would like to thank every and each one of you to give us the chance to speak and express our opinion. Few important things. I'm not going to repeat myself again because time is important to give other people to speak. I would like to emphasize a few negative impacts that gonna cause to the city resident. The city resident that I'm talking to, if you excuse me to come to the middle.
Sure.
And also, I would like to remind about the petition. Most of the people have resident around the subject home, which is this one that they want to demolish. All the neighbors around here, Hearns, this side as well, and Carriage is here. Also, the resident across the street from Carriage. They all rejected this project for reasons. We rejected the project for reasons. We're not against development. We absolutely would love to see Sterling Heights more beautiful, more nice, and more safe, definitely. But to the right project. The few things that I would like also to mention, average city resident in this neighborhood been living in the house for over 20 years. I've been in this house for 20 years. The people right next to me, this is my house right here. This is my house. My neighbor been living here since the house was built, 35 years. Miss Susan, the lady who spoke right ahead of me, before of me. Average person been living for 20 to 40 years. I mean, if you value those residents being paying taxes for 40 years versus a new project of a small plaza that we don't know what the consequences would be. Again, a drop in value of the homes. Who would like to live behind a shopping center, a small shopping center? I don't want to repeat the same subjects again, but definitely there will be a drop down in value of the homes nearby. No, because no one would like to live behind a shopping center. Another thing I would like to mention is the loss of privacy. If Mr. Chris, if you can put up the picture you have to the new project, south side of it. I seen they put windows. Where is the privacy? Windows on the side. Why they didn't put windows on the north side of the building? We're gonna lose the privacy. We use our backyard. We have kids. We gather as a family gathering over there. So why you have a block on one side and windows on the other side? Where is the privacy? This is another factor that we're gonna lose. Environment and sanitation. If you've been Ms. May Elias and Mr. Carl Bellu, they've been the owner of this property for over 2 years now. They haven't even nailed one piece of wood. Are you telling me you're gonna maintain this new project? I don't think so. I apologize. I know I'm taking a lot from my time, but seriously, there's a lot of factors to value.
Okay,
The
and
economy is getting better.
I know, sir. Before you start another, I think we do have to stop you there. I appreciate the presentation you made, though, and we will definitely take it under consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak? I'll take you next, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ted Skladnowski, and I live at 36642 Carriage Drive. And our backyard faces the west side, of the property or the shopping center that's proposed. I'm not going to repeat what everyone else said and waste your time, but I just want to make two other comments if I could. One is, that we want, there was a restriction for a restaurant, and on the original proposal, they wanted to do an ice cream parlor. So I'm hoping that you include ice cream parlor as part of a restaurant or a food establishment. And also, the Planning Commission last time seems like they swayed more towards this property being more apropos for a transitional type of a commercial building as opposed to a C1 commercial. So if you go back and look at the notes or the presentation, you'll see that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Who'd like to be next? Mr. Jefferson?
Charles Jefferson, Sterling Heights. I would like everyone to take a good look at this case right here because this is going to be what Sterling Heights is going to be about for years to come. We only have limited open parcels in the city that was at one point designated residential areas that need to be transitioned into either some kind of convenience store or a commercial store. So the people around Sterling Heights, this issue right here will be coming to a neighborhood to you soon, so please take a look at this. Also, I hope that we can look at this and say that there will be no hookah bars going into this kind of establishment for local convenience because they don't serve food or anything like that, but they do stay open late. And that is the new hotness in leisure type activities these days. As much as I would hate to say it, this is screaming for an office type of environment here, not a convenience type business, and I hope you can vote this down. Two, maybe a man over there could tell us if the developer had a meeting with the residents in that area to see if what they would come up with, because it seems like they don't want a convenience, but they would take a office zoning over a convenience zoning. And if they had a meeting with the residents in that area, because if he had did that, he would have came here with office instead of convenience. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Anyone else on this item? Mr. Marshall-Owens?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Porsky. My name's Harry Marshall-Owens. I'm a resident of Sterling Heights for about 35 years. I, too, like the rest of these folks, are against approval of this building, of this little shopping center. Not that they won't do a good job, but what happens to the people that live around these places? If you go to the little shopping center at Dodge Park and 15 Mile, walk around those buildings there. There's nothing but papers, pop cups, wrappers, you name it, water bottles. Every time you put one of these places up, it's just like having a garbage collection area. And the store owners don't keep it up. Nobody does. These folks, they keep up what's in front of their door and in front of their sidewalk. Parking lots and especially behind the buildings. These are junk areas. It's just a ridiculous situation. And then if you stop and think about it too, we've got hundreds of vacant storefronts in this city. We don't need more garbage areas. I'm hoping that you'll consider that for the sake of these folks. I don't live there. And these people that want to build this place don't live there either. If they want to build one, have them build it in their front yard. See if if it'll change the design at all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Marshall. Anyone else on this item? Can't take you again, sir. I know, I understand. No, I'm sorry. Miss, sir? Thank you. Anyone else on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Shannon?
resolved to remand case number PZ17-0004 to the Planning Commission to reconsider the request to conditionally rezone properties south of Metropolitan Parkway on the west side of Ryan Road in section 30 of the city from R61 Family Residential District to C1 Local Convenience Business District as amended.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion, Mr. Shannon?
Basically, I think that we just, by sending it back to the Planning Commission, we're starting from square one. And I think that's probably the best thing to do in this situation. A lot of changes have happened, and I think that let the Planning Commission go through their process, and then when it comes back to us, we'll see where they're at with it.
Okay. Mrs. Sarowski, were you the second? Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Zarko.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Taylor. The only question I have is through the chair to Mr. McLeod. In some other areas of the city where we have C1 zoning, we have a masonry wall between the property and the residence. Is that going to happen here?
Yes, there will be a 6-foot-high masonry wall between the residential areas on the west side and on the south side.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, council, any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
through the chair to Mr. McLeod, with our new master plan, are we doing commercial, abutting residential? What happened to transitional?
So in terms of I think office would still be in play as a transitional use. When you look at the master plan, it talks about local commercial, which can include office uses. So each case is individual. Master plan is a general guide. You look at it as a whole. So as each piece comes before you for potential rezoning, you assess them. And I think if ultimately the city determined that an office transitional use was the best use here, I think while not, you would generally be in compliance with the master plan at that point. Because again, one of the uses within the C1 that is clearly defined are office uses. So I think it's still in play. It's a question of whether the city feels that the C1, even with restriction in uses, is too intense in this particular instance. And again, rezonings are much more specific than general master plan discussion. So again, as you review each case, you make that determination as you go.
So it's up to us then to decide whether we want to put commercial in the middle of a residential area, correct?
Well, it's always your determination as to whether or not to rezone a piece of property from residential to commercial. In this particular instance, while yes, there is residential on two sides, you do have commercial on the north side. You do have non-residential uses to a like situation on the east side of Ryan. So there is some discussion there to say that it's not completely within a residential area per se, but it abuts residential, absolutely.
Butts residential on two sides, and that's okay as far as our planning department is concerned with the new master plan. Am I misunderstanding you?
No, as noted in our review and in the presentation, the master plan does talk about this area being local commercial. And again, local commercial could include either C1 or any of our office uses. So there's always going to be situations where C1 can be used as a transition. The C1 in this case is transitioning from the higher intensity C3 that's at the immediate intersection.
Yeah, office is always included in the higher density. When you bring this back to us, would you please give us some type of traffic advisory? What I'm thinking about is left-hand turn, let's go north. And how many ingress, egress do we have from here to 16 Mile Road? Are we going to make left-hand turns and have lots of T-bone accidents? These are the things that I'm looking at. I appreciate that, thank you.
All right, council, any other discussion on this item? As for me, you know, I look at these areas where we're on a major thoroughfare like Ryan Road, and I certainly understand the feeling of the residents who have houses. But if you look at our master land use plan, which I'm looking on page 21 of the backup material, it pretty clearly shows that this is an area that is designated for commercial, local commercial use going forward. And it's not an island within a residential area. It abuts a major thoroughfare, which is an appropriate area to develop local commercial. It is also not my place to say whether this business is duplicative. That's the place of the businessman to determine whether it's a proper investment or not. And if they want to fill it with certain businesses that they think are going to be successful, that is entirely up to them. If they're willing to restrict certain uses, well, then I have no problem with that either. The first speaker, I don't think you gave your name, but you said you're concerned that in a year or two, the property would become a restaurant. There will be a deed restriction so that it cannot. They could never come back and have that restaurant use. That's the offer that's being made. As I said, it's part of the master plan. It's a very light commercial use. It's a lighter commercial use than a lot of the surrounding commercial use that is already within a few feet of the residential properties that we're talking about. So to me, I don't have much of a problem with this. Over the last 8 years, I've approved most every one of these. When the Elises came for the other property on 17 Mile and Ryan, frankly, I think that property would be more appropriate for this. So I'm certainly aware that you're trying to find somewhere to locate your business, and generally I'm in support of it. However, I will vote to send it back to the Planning Commission to allow the Planning Commission to review it. There have been significant changes, including the green belt, the reduction in the size of the building, and the restricted uses. So I think it'd be appropriate for the Planning Commission to review it and make a recommendation, and then the City Council will be able to decide again. So without any further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item on our agenda tonight is to consider adoption of a map amendment to zoning ordinance number 278 to conditionally rezone property south of 15 Mile Road east of Van Dyke in section 34 from C3 to RM3, case number PZ 17-0005. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mr. Lusk.
resolved to adopt the mapped amendment to zoning ordinance number 278 to conditionally rezone property south of 15 Mile east of Van Dyke in section 34 from C3 General Business District to RM3 Multiple Family High Rise District, case number PZ 170005, subject to the terms and conditions of the conditional rezoning agreement for the mayor and the city clerk, and hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the city.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Mr. Lusk.
Mayor Taylor, when I first saw this, I thought it was a great use of land. It's a difficult piece of land. I think the petitioner has done an amazing job of providing affordable living for the folks that are going to be there. I'm fully in support of this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lusk. Thank you, Mr. Ruggieri. Mrs. Sarowski, or I'm sorry, Mrs. Schmidt, did it again.
I have nothing further. I was satisfied with all the discussion we had 2 weeks ago.
Council, anyone else? If not, very briefly, I want to thank the petitioner, Mr. Gallo, Mr. Frank Gallo for being here as well, Tony Gallo, and Mr. Ruggieri. Very excited about this project and think it's going to be a phenomenal addition to our city and another step closer to becoming the third largest city in the state of Michigan, I think. So thank you very much, and congratulations. With no further comments, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Good luck. Congratulations. Thank you. I'm sure you won't. Thank you, Mr. Gallo. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on any item in tonight's consent agenda? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Kosky.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda tonight is to consider approval of a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Sterling Heights and AFSCME Local 1917 representing the Department of Public Works supervisory employees for the period of July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2020. We have a presentation from our Assistant City Manager, Jeffrey Bohorsky. Mr. Bohorsky.
Thank you again, Mayor Taylor. The existing collective bargaining agreement between the city and AFSCME Local 1917, representing the Department of Public Works supervisory employees, expired on June 30th of 2017. In anticipation of this expiration date, negotiations on a new CBA were undertaken and produced a tentative agreement in mid-July of 2017. Membership of the DPW Supervisory Bargain Unit has ratified the new CBA, and it is now being presented to the City Council for approval. The term of the proposed CBA is 3 years, from July 1, 2017 to June 30, 2020. Highlights include wages. Each year, the employees will see an increase in base wages. In fiscal year 2017-18, there will be a 2.5% wage increase. Fiscal year 2018-2019, a 2% wage increase. And in the final year, 2019-2020, a 2% wage increase. To address an inequity created for certain members that promoted into the unit during the term of the expiring CBA, 3 members will now have the same multiplier as the existing members in the bargaining unit, and that will be applied to service earned after July 1, 2017. Medical benefits for the membership will now be the Blue Cross Blue Shield Simply Blue 2000 high deductible plan with a prescription drug benefit plan and an annual HSA contribution by the city of $2,400 for a 2-person or family plan and $1,200 for a single-person plan. Importantly, employees will pay 10% of the health insurance premium. The Blue Cross Blue Shield Simply Blue high deductible plan will also be taken into retirement for any member retiring during the term of the CBA. New to this contract is an emergency leave bank. This is to address situations where the members work extended hours in an emergency situation. Examples would be a water main break, a snow emergency, and these members need to report for duty after little or limited rest in between. The emergency bank provides 24 hours of time granted each July for use through the following year and allows the members to use time off to rest without use of other bank time. Unused emergency leave bank time will be paid out, if unused, in June of the subsequent year. All other monetary benefits remain at the levels provided under the expiring CBA. City administration would be remiss by not acknowledging the good faith exhibited by the DPW supervisory throughout the collective bargaining agreement, which was essential to reaching this agreement. For all the foregoing reasons, recommendation is being made for the City Council to approve the CBA as presented. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bohorsky. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor.
Mrs. Zarko.
Resolved to approve the collective bargaining agreement and memorandums of understanding between the City of Sterling Heights and the AFSCME Local 1917 DPW supervisory employees for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2020, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to sign all documents in conjunction with this approval. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion, Mrs. Zarko?
I think that Mr. Bohorsky explained it very well, and I don't have any questions. Just glad that we were able to reach an agreement.
Council, any further discussion? With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item on our agenda tonight is to consider appointments to the City of Sterling Heights boards and commissions. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, council, I believe we have 3 appointments tonight. The first is the step 2 of a nomination and appointment. This is the appointment of Paul Zblowski to the Board of Ordinance Appeals 2 alternate position. Is there somebody who'd like to make that motion?
Mayor
Mayor Taylor.
Mrs. Sarowski.
Resolved to appoint Paul Zablowski to the Board of Ordinance Appeals 2, alternate member to a term ending June 30th, 2019, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the Arts Commission. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion for an appointment to the Arts Commission? This is a 12-member board, city council appointment, an unexpired term.
Mayor Taylor.
Mr. Lusk.
Resolved to appoint Larry Farhat to the Arts Commission to a term ending June 30th, 2021, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? With no discussion. Mr. Lusk, sorry.
I've known Larry for a number of years. He's here with us today. He's a great lover of art. He considers himself an artist. I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I think he's going to put a lot of his time and talent into this. He asked a lot of questions. He didn't make this decision quickly, and this is my first appointment, and it had to be an important one to me, so I think a lot of them.
All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Lusk. Anyone else on this item? With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Next is the Beautification Commission. This is a 12-member board with 1 vacancy. This is a council appointment. Council, is there anyone who'd like to make a motion?
Mayor Taylor.
Mrs. Schmidt.
Resolved to appoint Deborah Travis to the Beautification Commission to a term ending 6/30/18, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes the business portion of our agenda tonight. This time I'll move on to communications from citizens. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? I'll start with you, Mr. Marshall-Owens.
Again, my name's Harry Marshallons. Last council meeting, I touched briefly on my concern about the magnitude of some of the donations that are being made by some of the local businesses and individuals. Again, I'm still asking that some member of the council or the mayor who is not interested in receiving any bribes would recommend that there will be no more MIT funds and that there will be a limit put on what you can accept as far as donations. I challenge each one of you that are sitting up there to look at your checkbooks and see how many of you donated $100 to anybody last year for political contributions. And I'd say most of you did not, because you weren't looking for special favors. But anybody that donates $500, $1,000, $5,000 or more, they're basically bribing you. And if you accept it, you're accepting a bribe. And again, the office of the mayor and the council is not a salary plus whatever else you can make on the side. And I pointed out that we don't allow our police department to sell policemen stickers when they pull you over for a stop, speeding or whatever, because we think that they will be influenced by that. And us voters, God bless you, we know the almighty dollar can hurt. And even though most of you are honest, maybe 23 and a half hours a day, there's going to be a period of time. You know, a guy told me one time, a guy came into his office to try to bribe him. He says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $10,000. He says, no. He says, I'll give you $20,000. He says, no. He says, I'll give you $30,000. And he says, what'd you do then? He said, I punched him right in the mouth. He says, why'd you do that? He says, he was getting too close to my number. Folks, I got to believe you, everyone's got one. I'd like to see something put in writing to say that the voters have as much to say what goes on in this city as some of the wealthier business people. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Marshall. Is Mrs. Early?
Jasmine Early, Sterling Heights. I had to start with saying thank you for everybody who participated in the Sterling Heights Festival. Next, I want to address Mayor Taylor. With all due respect, I want to express my disappointment with the mayor regarding his comments in the Sterling Heights local page, Facebook page, in the last few days. Several of your friends, your close friends, made their joy to encourage written attacks against me because my stand against Sharia law and its followers. It is shameful that we had a mayor who expressed denigrating comments against me because it seems to be enjoyable for you and your friends. Even wanting me out of the country, it is wrong for you. You and your friends do not decide how long we are going to be in this country. People escape from those type of tyrannical governments, the ones that you want to implant here. My advice to you, the rest of the council, the members of the administration, is to get educated in the issue of Sharia law, which you keep mocking me about it. Your liberal agenda is trying to intimidate. But you need to understand that the threat against our country, state, and city should be studied. If we want to protect this country, we can be politically correct, and you need to understand it. I hope residents do their research and check the Sterling Heights local politics page, which you encouraged to block me from that page because I was trying to defend myself. The same way that you encourage here for the people to have less time to speak. Now we can't talk too long. I have received many comments of support after I posted the posts and comments that you and your friends made. I appreciate the people who have supported and know that what you are saying is wrong and doing. You got, we know that we will see in November who has the last word. You lost respect from our residents, and I hope it shows in November. Now, I want to address this with the city manager, but since he's not here, I guess I will talk to Mr. Bahorsky. Here is a map of the locations where the people could, by the handbill that we get, petition or no petition in the city. If you can see here, we have several places where they were petitioning people for signatures. I had been escorted out by the city manager and a police officer while I was crossing the festival 2 years ago. These people were allowed, but I was told by one of them that they are making a legal complaint against the city for violating the freedom of speech. So how come the people, here is one of the pictures in location 1, where they are in front of the library, petitioning, they were allowed. Here, they are in number 4, inside of the festival. So my advice, my request is you apply for some which is against the freedom of speech, you should apply for all. I hope that this does not occur again, that anybody is getting escorted out from the festival because you do not approve what they are doing, and it's a violation of their rights. The city violated my rights 2 years ago.
All right, thank you. Who'd like to be next? All right, I'll close that portion and move on to reports from city administration. Mr. Bahorsky, any items tonight?
No, Mayor Taylor, I'll reserve until Mr. Vanderbilt gets back to make any response to Mrs. Early's allegations. But no other matters besides that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Koszubski, any items?
Thank you, Mayor. We do have one item for closed session.
All right, council, I'll open it up to any reports, new business or unfinished business. Mrs. Zarko.
Mayor Taylor, how are you?
Oh, I'm great.
Good. I just want to respond first to Mr. Marshallone. When you said that there are laws that are set up for contribution funds, and it depends on what type of election it is. And I believe our maximum is still, is it 2,000? Did they raise it? 2,000 per?
Total, per
total.
person. Mhm.
So that's what it is, and rarely do you get $2,000 from one person. But there are campaign laws. The other thing is, Mrs. Early brought up the fact that there were people that set up their tables to sign petitions. I know for a fact, as soon as the administration was made aware of those petitioners, they were asked to leave. Yes, they were, because I watched them pack up, and I watched them vacate. So they were asked to leave. I had a great time at Sterling Fest. I could give you a list of the highlights, but I think that probably the best kept secret that we have is the naturalization ceremony that takes place on Friday morning, and mainly because we just don't have the room to invite the public to participate. But it truly, truly is a moving experience, and it's become a tradition at Sterling Fest that I hope that we continue. So no further comments.
Thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Mr. Shannon?
Just really quickly, just to add to on a couple things that Ms. Ziarko was saying, is that also the money that comes from campaign contributions doesn't go into our pocket, it goes into our campaign funds. That it can only be used on campaign purposes. And then also as far as the petition signatures gatherers, the people that were gathering petition signatures, I specifically went out and looked for them on, I believe it was Friday after I saw that post. I couldn't find them. I happened to see some on Friday night that were hanging out right by the Upton House, and that's where an area that was legally allowed to do that. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shannon. Anyone else?
Mayor Taylor.
Mrs. Sarowski.
And to add a third person to that list, I've been in 19 years of working with campaigns with my husband as well. And there are enormous laws. Every single cent that comes into any campaign has to be annotated, and every single cent spent has to be annotated. And just as an example, one mailing mailed out to Sterling Heights residents is $10,000. One. So the money that comes into a campaign is not income for any person running for any office. It's meant only for campaigning. And that money that comes in, and I'm not defending specifically any donation at any amount, but I'm saying how it's used is for campaigning. And it's expensive. We get a certain amount. That, obviously, $17,000 is what we, as council members, make. So that's not even 2 mailings, just to make it real. So what we make is not for our campaign funds. And what we try, and you guys, I know, I get them too. Those campaign mailings coming in the mail, you know how many you get, so you know how much money that's not covering. So just to understand, whatever we gather, glean, come door to door with, that's due to the generosity of people that just are trying to help us. They're not getting any extra favors, really, just trying to help. So please, it's not a conspiracy. No one's out there bribing, really. If you want to look, and by the way, every single person's campaign funds are public record. You can get them and take them, and I'll hand you my books. I'll hand you my husband's books, happily. So please, just be aware that we're not trying to take money for any other purpose than to get the word out. Thank you.
Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. 2 points. First of all, I think this was one of the best Sterling Fests we have ever had. I think the gods were on our side weather-wise, like never before. The crowds behaved themselves. I think we had the least amount of police incidents, which I don't think were many at all. Everybody seemed to have a good time, and that's because we live in one of the best cities in the country, I think, my opinion. And we couldn't put Sterling Fest on if it weren't for all the employees in this city and all the volunteers and all the residents coming together and making it the great event that it is. I have more people say to me, whatever you do, don't cancel Sterling Fest, please. It means that much to our community. It's not us beating our chests because, we have this great party that we throw. It's not that. It's bringing our community together, and it's important to the residents of our community that we continue to do that. And it's a lot of fun. So, also, Mrs. Gerstenberg earlier made a presentation about our recreating recreation. And I had a conversation with Mr. Langless because I had noticed that in a lot of our parks, we're putting in metal slides again. And I can remember as a child, we didn't have plastic slides. We had the metal slides, and they get hot in the sun, and that's why people stopped putting the metal slides in. So I said, why the metal slides? And he explained to me that people with cochlear implants cannot use plastic slides. So that is why we're putting in more metal slides to accommodate those members of our community. So I thought that was kind of a cool little tidbit of information, and I wanted to share that with the residents as well. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mrs. Koski.
Thank you. When I was first elected to council, I was given a little saying in regard to campaign funding, and that was eat yes, vote no. No brown bags on this city council. So I believe in that, and I think everybody sitting at this table agrees with me. No brown bags. Eat yes, vote no. Little reminder, Treasure Hunters Market, Saturday, the 12th at Dodge Park from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hope you all come out and enjoy. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Koski. Yeah, right off the top, Sterling Fest was phenomenal. I thought it was just an incredible event. I was stopped multiple times by residents who were very happy, mostly because of the weather and the rides and the food. The entertainment was phenomenal this year. It was a great festival, and we owe a lot of thanks to all of the residents who volunteered, all of the residents who came out to support it, all of the employees here, the police, the fire, the DPW, the Parks and Rec staff. I mean, really everybody from every department pitched in some way, shape, or form. And I think it was just a tremendous festival. And it's really something I think that generates great pride in our community. And I'm really excited to see the way it's going to look next year with all the changes that we heard over at Dodge Park. So I think that by and large, everybody had a phenomenal time, and I'm grateful that we can do that, and we'll continue to do that and hopefully make it even better and better. The technical difficulties are coming everywhere lately. With regard to the campaign, the allegations of bribery, I think that's really, I think that's really shameful, Mr. Marshallone's. There is bribery, and then there's legal campaign contributions that are given within the legal limits, and they're publicly recorded and they're publicly available. And even if a candidate for office receives money from a PAC, that's not shady or black money or untraceable. All that PAC money is publicly available. You can see everybody who contributed to that PAC. The reality here is that the city council members in this city and pretty much any city around do this job not to make money, not to get rich. And you're not going to get rich doing this. You're going to spend a lot more time than you're actually getting compensated for, and you do it because you enjoy doing it. You enjoy serving for the residents. I would guess that probably all of us, I haven't checked, there are a couple newer members, but the more veteran members on this city council, I'm sure have loaned money to their campaign accounts, or they have given money to their campaign accounts. So I've got thousands of dollars that my campaign account owes me personally. And when new money flows in, I don't take that money to pay myself back. I put it back into my campaign so I can educate and inform voters about what I've been doing and why I think that they should vote for me or not vote for me. And that's what a campaign is. None of that money ends up in our pockets. And for you to suggest that when a contributor gives us something, we're getting a little something on the side, no. I'm buying flyers by the 50,000. I'm buying advertising space in a newspaper. That doesn't benefit me personally in any way, except it might allow me to keep my job here, which I enjoy doing. And that's it. And so to say that the businesses have influence where the voters don't, the businesses don't vote, the voters vote. The voters get to make the decision. And I can get $10 million in campaign contributions, and my opponent can get nothing. And if they like my opponent more, the voters decide. And that's it. So that's really all I wanted to say about that. You know, on the topic the other speaker brought up, I'm sure that 133,000 residents are very happy to get an update on your campaign and on your Facebook presence. And you've used our public airwaves to, you know, engage in self-promotion and cry victim about some perceived slight. And I think it's completely inappropriate for that to be brought up at a public business meeting. So, and you're continuing to interrupt from the audience, although I did not interrupt you one time. So I'd appreciate you to remain silent while you're in the audience. With that, I would entertain a motion
Mayor
to
Taylor?
adjourn. Mrs. Zarko.
I apologize for not doing this when I had my turn, but there are two things that I wanted to say. I should have looked at my notes. And one was that in reading Make Comb Your Home today, it looks like Sterling Heights was rated in the top 100 cities in the country, safest cities in the country, which is kind of cool. There were 3 of them in Macomb County. Let me see, Shelby, St. Clair Shores, and Sterling Heights. So that's kind of cool. The other thing, we talk about how everything happens in Sterling Fest. Well, we forgot, the big hero on Saturday night was Councilman Lusk. What happened is, during the day on Saturday, we found one of our cameras wasn't working. And it was a little traumatic on Saturday afternoon when we were scheduled to use it on Saturday evening. He volunteered his equipment as well as helping our photographer out, and he actually missed his introduction on stage because he was so busy working. So I just wanted to bring that to point.
I do rock.
I know you do. Yes, but anyway, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Zarko. Anyone else? Going once, twice? All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Ms. Riska, can we please have a roll call vote?
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Mrs. Zarko?
Yes.
Mrs. Kosky?
Yes.
Mr. Lusk?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Mrs. Drosky?
Yes.
All right. Motion carries 7-0. We will adjourn into closed session, and we may return. Order. Council, is there a motion?
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Schmidt.
Resolve to authorize the city attorney to pursue all available remedies to abate the nuisance conditions and code violations existing at 34766 Van Dyke, Sterling Heights, Michigan, 48312.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
No.
Council, with no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.